Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're looking at the Cobra Televiper and Cobra Flight Pod, otherwise known as the Trouble Bubble. So, having wonderful issues with the computer today again, but we'll get through this. The box art is pretty nice, unfortunately, and as it's been said by many others as well, it's always nice when you get to see inside. Looking at the back, we do have our figure, which is 6.3 inches tall with his helmet and everything else on. We do have two extra faces. We have his kind of listening gun or whatever, his cord that links up to his communications device, as well as the mine and his missiles, and of course we have the main trouble bubble. Now, unfortunately, because things had worked out the way they did, I've already taken everything out, which is it's always the fun part, when you get to take it out and then kind of look at everything and see how it goes. So as we go through all this, I did want to point out the fact that, hey, I do have the Python Patrol one, so this is identical. Some of the things I didn't realize that I do now, and we'll kind of get into this. Having everything here and looking at the nice coloration we have for the Python Patrol, and this is being, the plain Jane color scheme, but the one that everyone really remembers, because this is how we all started off for, 2 seasons of G.I. Joe. Having everything here and going from that point, it's all kind of nice, and I picked this up mainly because it was down to about $47 in a price tag, looking at it in that regard. It was $47 to $49, so it's down to its regular original price on Amazon. So I picked it up because, for a price being a normal price for what it should have been, it is kind of nice to see this. Now, going through our figure here, we do have our swivel for our foot, so depending on how wide of a stance you want to have him, he'll be able to stand pretty decent, so that's kind of nice. As far as moving our foot forward and backwards, that's not going to happen the way his boots are sitting, so we're kind of stuck. He does have his joint, because the foot actually clicks into place here. He does have that double knee, as well as our twist right here at the top of the thigh. He can torso twist a little bit. I've broken him free a little bit, so it's a little easier. And he does have the joint in here so he can do his crunches, although the armor does get a little bit in the way. Take the backpack off here. So we do have that available, but it is a little bit more challenging with the vest in the way. He does have his double shoulder joint, so he can reach back a little bit easier or throw something forward a little bit more, however you want to do it. And then getting down here, we do have our swivel on the just underneath the shoulder, as well as a double elbow, and of course then we have our standard hand. And of course we have swappable faces. Now, on the original one that I gotten, for the Python Patrol, we have the darker skin, and on this one right now we have the lighter skin. That's how they kind of came, I believe. So that's how we have them. Now, if you want to change them out, we do have 2 different heads that we can swap out. So we can have the darker skin, or we can have the night vision goggles there. If I get any more, I think I'll probably just do the night vision goggles, so we'll have them that way. Either way. Now, as we get into all this, and I just looked some things up here because my dumb butt doesn't know everything, and I'm always willing to admit that, hey, I don't know things. So we do have the mine. Now, doing a little research on the mine, and I'm going to kind of read it off here a little bit, because it's kind of important here, and things that I'd never fully realized, I guess. All right, so looking at the mine and reading what we have here, the deployment method of the G.I. Joe Trouble Bubble mine varies depending on which version of the toy you had. So if we have the original series of the toy, this could actually get mounted onto a point here in the cockpit, and then we could use it as a um, can, can be placed in the seat and used as an aerial drone. So we could use this as a drone to actually kind of hover. So it's got a little bit of electronics in here to kind of deal with that. Now, let's see, the mine otherwise was not able to be stored anywhere else except for in the seat. On the classified here, storage, unlike in the vintage, can be stored underneath. So one of the things I did not realize is that we actually had a storage point underneath here. And it actually connects, it said, to the cannon. So now the cannon can kind of hold it. All right. Something I didn't realize until I had to look it up. So like I said, my dumb butt just did not realize this. Now, the mine, because I've always kind of wondered this because I've never really seen it deployed. It does have a function, so this can be deployed, and it does because it's got an AI in here. It's funny that these things are now considered probably more possible today than ever before, but it does have a propulsion system on here, at least to hover and self-guide to try and get in the way of somebody else. So you can deploy this, hopefully it'll hit somebody, and then you don't have to worry about them. And because it's got an AI auto flight module in here, it can do that. Because I'd always kind of wondered how this thing goes, but it does have its own propulsion in the engine to be able to kind of hover. Kind of like a cross between both Star Wars and Star Trek and all that, which we've seen repulsor lift technology in both franchises, as well as many others. And the funnier thing is Marvel, who has also done GIJoe as well as many others, has also done a lot of the artwork and comic books and that for both Star Trek and Star Wars. So they are all kind of interconnected if you really want to think about it in that regard, as well as, you know, all the other wonderful franchises that Marvel has done. All right, so knowing that I can actually put this underneath here kind of makes it a little bit nicer, and hopefully I don't knock the cannon off. I was knocking this off. So as we get this out of the box, yeah, then I keep knocking it off. All right, I'm going to leave it off. Our missiles are separate. Our pegs here to hold the missiles are separate, as well as the main cannon and our flight pods on the back. That's all separate, and we put them on here. These mount on just simply into our connectors, kind of like doing a Lego. So it sits on there, and it sits pretty good. Not a problem. Our flight maneuvering pieces. Now, for me as an adult, I'll probably have this work for many years, but quite often, I do remember one of my friends having one of these, and I think he only had one of these. This bar was broke off as well as the other side. So us being, you know, kids and playing rough with everything, it is amazing to sit here and say, yep, you know, we broke things off, which should be expected as, you know, young kids. Today we look at it a little differently. This one itself, having taken out 3 Sky Strikers, doesn't say anything about any other vehicles or whatever have you. So our pilot here has taken out 3 Sky Strikers. Now this, much the same as what he's got, does mount onto the bottom, which mine popped off when I was futzing around here. And then we have a side peg there that actually goes into the trigger assembly, so that way we can hold the rifle. We have our extra communications gear, so if we need to send communications back to Cobra headquarters or anything, we've got that available. Now for putting this on here, we do have the peg on the back. I would loop that around, get that in here, and there we go. Now the fact that I found these for about what I believe was the normal price. You know, we have the different faces, so you can customize them a little bit more, get them however you want your army to sit, which is wonderful. It's a great thing having these, so you can have them on an airfield and the Joes can be running, and trying to find something to escape with is kind of a nice thing. We do have our standard handlebars here. So in a lot of regards, it's almost like driving a motorcycle, the way that this looks like it's all laid out. And it is kind of neat because these are things I don't really remember so much on the original. The fact that we have a little fan jet engine to help propel us forward as this keeps us upright. And then on the other side, that's all probably communications and all that other stuff in here for any other work that we need. Probably our sensors and all that for our airspeed and what have you. As this, I believe, is going to be headlights and targeting for our cannon. And we go from there. So, a nice addition to my collection. I think it's a great addition to anybody's collection. The fact that if you're collecting the 6-inch classified figures, being able to get this, and this is really an upscaled version of what we had in the old 3 3/4 inch toy line. The only thing I could hope for now is like a Cobra Fang. I think that would just be iconic. And I don't think it's going to be much bigger than this when you really think about it, because that's probably going to be about like this. So not much bigger, because we just had the cockpit. It was a small helicopter, and actually I've seen ones that would work out very well for that. Not really any armor on there or anything else, and you could easily do it for, I think it was like 10 grand for a little kind of ultralight helicopter that you could maybe throw a couple light guns on there or something just to terrorize people. I think you have that availability. The expensive parts are going to be trying to get some missiles to throw on there, but as a global terrorist organization, I think they should be able to figure that out. Maybe even beef up the engine a little bit, so it can carry the missiles and everything else that we're looking at. And it's not much. It's what, 2 missiles, and on the front it's got I believe it's a grenade launcher. So with like a rotary drum magazine or something like that, something that you could easily do. Something like this, in the cartoon it's all laser beams, so it doesn't really matter. In the real life, to throw small arms, fire, or something like that with a little chain or belt fed or whatever with maybe 200 rounds isn't all that hard to do, and you just kind of pull the trigger like you normally would, and then you go from there. Not too bad for a kind of El Cheapo kind of helicopter or whatever. This is going to be a little bit more engineering, trying to get all this to work out and balance. But yeah, even with this, they're iconic vehicles from the old original 80s series. And I think that's, the things that really draw us older adults to collectors, because it reminds us of our childhood. So I just hope that Hasbro and corporate headquarters can figure out how to keep the price on this stuff down, so that way they can get the kids interested into it, so when they get to be my age, they want to collect it. I'm afraid that when my generation starts taking their final walks and all that stuff, the big draw to GIJoe really starts dying, because they have not really come up with stuff to really make it wanting to last for the next generation, which is a sad thing. Because I know myself, and I'm sure there's plenty others, this is just an iconic part of my childhood. So with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.